All right, let's get right into it. Today, we're opening a case file. We're conducting a full-on financial investigation into a paradox that so many of us get caught in, the rat race. Our goal here is pretty simple, to deconstruct the system, piece by piece, and give you a precise framework to actually escape it. So let's begin the analysis.
So where does this investigation even begin? Well, it starts with a really perplexing mystery. We're all taught the same thing, right? Higher income equals financial security. But the evidence tells a completely different story. There's this fundamental disconnect, and today we're going to expose it.
Okay, Exhibit A, our primary piece of evidence, a six-figure income. I mean, by all the conventional metrics, this number should scream financial stability. It's supposed to be a clear indicator of success. But here's the thing, this number, all by itself, is incredibly misleading.
And yet, the story doesn't end there. Not even close. This is where our case takes a really critical turn. Because you have to ask, what happens when this kind of income crashes into the reality of how people actually behave with their money today?
And boom, here's the counter-evidence that just shatters the whole premise. A study from CareerBuilder found that even in this high-earning group, get this, 1 in 10 were living paycheck to paycheck. This tells you right away, this isn't an income problem. It is something else entirely.
So that leads us to the central question of this whole investigation. Where is the disconnect? If making more money isn't the guaranteed fix, then what's the hidden variable that we're all missing? Let's figure it out.
All right, to crack this case, we have to start by recalibrating how we think about the main tool in this whole game, money. See, most people are working with a really flawed definition, and that, of course, leads to flawed results. What we need is a much more precise framework.
So here's the definition you'd find in any textbook. Money is a medium of exchange, blah, blah, blah. And look, it's technically correct, but for what we're trying to do here, it's functionally useless. It only tells you what money does, not what it truly represents. And believe me, that's a critical distinction.
This right here, this is the pivotal mindset shift. We need to stop thinking of money as some object to be chased. Instead, see it for what it is, a completely neutral expression of value. That's it. It's just a way to measure the value that's exchanged between people. Really grasping this concept, that is the absolute first step to escaping the trap.
And this really breaks down the difference between how most people see it and what the reality is. The misconception that money is somehow good or evil, and that to get wealthy, you have to take it from someone else. It's a zero-sum game. But the reality is, money is just a neutral tool. It's amoral. And wealth isn't generated by taking, it's generated by creating value. So the takeaway here is huge. Your financial situation is a direct reflection of the value you create.
All right, let's get to our core analytical framework. You can take all the complexity of personal finance, strip it all away, and it boils down to a simple two-part equation. Seriously, understanding this equation and, more importantly, balancing it, that's the entire bang.
So here they are, the two opposing forces in your financial life. On one side, you've got production. That's all the value you create and put out into the world. Your job, a business, a side hustle, whatever. On the other side, you've got consumption. That's the value you use up. Rent, subscriptions, food, entertainment. Your net worth? It's really just a scorecard showing the long-term relationship between these two things. So I want you to ask yourself this question right now. Apply this framework to your own life. When you look at the money coming in and going out, which variable is unbalanced? Is the real problem that you're not producing enough, or is it that you're consuming too much? For most people, the answer is surprisingly clear. Okay, so our framework is established. Now we can really dig into the evidence and pinpoint the real source of all this financial instability. It's time to identify the culprit. And here it is, the diagnosis. For most people, the issue isn't production. It's uncontrolled consumption. I mean, just look back at that six-figure paycheck-to-paycheck data. It proves that making more money is totally meaningless if your spending just grows right along with it, or even worse, grows faster. This uncontrolled consumption, that is the real rat race. It's a self-defeating, pointless pursuit. But why? What drives this behavior? Well, let's look at the motives, the psychological traps. First, you've got the ostrich effect. You know what this is. It's when you'd rather just not know how bad the damage is, so you just don't look at your bank account. Then there's hyperbolic discounting. That's the little voice in your head that says that new phone today is way more important than having a comfortable retirement decades from now. And of course, there's social proof. the need to keep up with the Joneses. Except now, thanks to social media, the Joneses are literally everyone on the planet. You know, this quote from Fight Club just says it all. The things you own end up owning you. It perfectly captures where this road ends. Your lifestyle, all the stuff you buy, funded by debt and desire, it stops being a choice. It becomes a necessity. And your job? That just becomes the chain that ties you to it all.
So there you have it. The case is solved. The culprit is identified. Now we can finally move to the most important part, the escape plan. It's a systematic, two-phase plan to get you out of the rat race for good.
Phase 1 is all about defense. You have to get a handle on the variable that's causing all the problems. It starts with 1, awareness. You have to track every single dollar. You cannot control what you don't measure, simple as that. Second is control. This means you actually engineer a budget. You tell every single dollar where it's going to go. And third, security. You build an emergency fund of 3 to 6 months of expenses. Think of this as your firewall against the chaos of life.
Okay, so once your defense is solid, once your consumption is under control, then and only then can you shift from defense to offense. Phase 2 is all about systematically and very intentionally scaling up the value you produce for the market. And there are a few main ways to do this. First, entrepreneurship. This has the highest potential because you create a solution and you sell it at scale. Then you've got digital platforms, think YouTube or something similar, that let you provide value to a huge audience. Or you can focus on developing incredibly high-value skills. This lets you massively increase your worth even inside a traditional job. No matter which path you choose, the keyword here is scale. So in the end, this whole investigation really comes down to one final, clarifying question for you. Do you care more about appearing wealthy or being wealthy? Because your answer to that dictates everything. It tells you which side of that equation you're going to prioritize. See, appearing wealthy, that's a game of consumption. But being wealthy, that's a game of production. The choice you make determines your freedom. Case closed.